Tonight on First at 9 this Friday the 26th of April 2024. The pursuit of justice. No Sri Lankan names in Sirisena's CID statement reveals the Minister of Public Security. The power switch. Government to establish National Energy Regulator. A committee tasked to draft the framework in 2 months. The money conversion. President Ranil Wickremesinghe highlights plans to convert the country's economy to attract foreign investments. Taking off. Joint venture of Russian and Indian firm to run Mattala Airport decides the cabinet.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now taking you straight to your top story tonight, Minister of Public Security Derana claims that no Sri Lankan names were mentioned by former President Maithripala Sirisena during his statement to the CID, which was made subsequent to a public revelation by the former president claiming that he knows who the mastermind behind the Easter attack is. Alas revealed this while addressing the parliamentary debate on the Easter attacks. Meanwhile, Leader of the House, Dr. Susil Premajayantha, questioned why former President Maithripala Sirisena kept such sensitive information to himself for 5 long years.
The former Defence Secretary said he knew about an attack but did not know its severity. If the Defence Secretary knew about it, there is no reason for the country's executive to not know about it. Recently, the former president said he knew the mastermind behind the attacks. If he knew it all this time, why did he keep it to himself for 5 years without revealing it? This is a joke.
In a recent media briefing, the Cardinal urged everyone to cast their ballots in favour of Sajith and Anura, not anyone else. Has the Cardinal struck a deal with the both of them? I don't know why the Cardinal stooped to such a standard.
They have launched a new conspiracy. They have also involved Maithripala Sirisena in that conspiracy. He says that the attacks were perpetrated by India. India warned us 3 times. So then, isn't it our fault that we failed to act on the warnings? Wasn't Sirisena the president at that time?
Following Maithripala Sirisena's statement, he was summoned to the CID to give an official statement. Based on his CID statement, some people have started to express their own views. Since the matter is before court, I can only reveal this. In this statement, former President Maithripala Sirisena has not mentioned the name of any Sri Lankan. Since investigations pertaining to the matter are underway, I am unable to disclose more information.
It is reported that the government has all of a sudden increased visa fees. We believe that it can collapse the tourism industry, which is currently booming. Has the government taken measures to increase visa fees? If so, why?
This proposal was tabled in Parliament. This was not a cabinet decision. When that is the case, I express my disappointment for even asking such a question, because everyone is responsible for what transpired.
When did the Parliament approve the regulation mentioned by Harin Fernando? This proposal was tabled at the Committee on Public Finance. The Parliament was only informed about it. It was not approved.
It was approved in the Parliament on November 10th, 2023 and was gazetted in November 27th, 2023. There is no possibility of publishing a gazette without the approval of the Parliament. As the Chief Opposition Whip, you could have figured it out if you had been more attentive.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations.
ජීවිතේ හැම තැනකදීම ස්මාර්ට් වෙන්න පොලිය විතරක් ගෙවාගෙන යන්න CDB Smart Draft.
The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to establish a regulator for the energy sector. Accordingly, a committee was appointed to propose the draft framework for the energy sector regulator in 2 months pertaining to matters including unfair pricing mechanisms and pricing formulas, quality assurance and stakeholder engagement. Meanwhile, the cabinet also approved the preparation of a draft bill on recovering property earned through crime.
At the cabinet meeting that was held last evening, approval was given to the proposal submitted by Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara to establish a regulator for the energy sector. Under the proposal, a committee chaired by the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy will be appointed to present recommendations on a suitable regulation while also being tasked with providing suggestions pertaining to the legal framework required. The government says that although the operations pertaining to the import, refinery, distribution and marketing of petroleum products, including petrol, diesel, kerosene, jet fuels and liquefied petroleum gases are conducted within the existing legal framework, there is no broad regulatory mechanism. Since several private establishments are engaged in the import and distribution of petroleum products, the requirement of an independent, dynamic, productive and efficient regulatory mechanism has been recognized to look for solutions to the challenges of the sector, enhance the quality of the products and safeguard the requirements of consumers, investors and other stakeholders.
Steps will be taken to conduct a study on the possibility of establishing an institution with broad powers to regulate the country's energy sector. Approval was granted to appoint an expert committee chaired by the Secretary of the Ministry of Power and Energy to establish an independent institution capable of identifying solutions to the challenges of the energy sector, enhancing the quality of the products, and safeguarding the requirements of the consumers, investors, and other stakeholders.
Meanwhile, the cabinet also approved the preparation of a draft bill on recovering property earned through crime. The government says that the decision was made as per the agreement with the International Monetary Fund, which mandates the government of Sri Lanka should introduce a complete law regarding the recovery of assets by the year 2024.
The Minister of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms appointed a committee comprised of experts in the field of justice in March 2023 to prepare the policy, legal framework and procedure pertaining to property earned through crime. Based on the recommendations indicated in the report furnished by that committee, approval was given to instruct the legal draftsman to draft the bill with regard to property earned through crime.
In the meantime, the cabinet also approved the appointment of community consultation committees at the local government institutional level to supervise the implementation of the government's development programs, including Urumaya, which aims to provide freehold land deeds to 2 million Sri Lankans, the urban household ownership program, and Kandurata Dashaka, which aims to address the lack of development in upcountry regions. Under this decision, the provincial governors are authorized to appoint community consultancy committees at the local government institutional level.
Now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe reiterated plans to convert Sri Lanka's economy into a highly competitive, export-oriented economy that can attract foreign direct investments into the country. Addressing an event in Colombo, President Wickremesinghe said it is the appropriate time to decide on the suitable economy for the country.
The Rotary District Conference 2023 to 2024 of Rotary District 3220 was held at the BMICH in Colombo under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
I'd like to mention an incident today when someone asked me, a young person, what plans have you got for the country? And I told him I have no plans. I can only think of a market economy where the market forces will decide. Let's decide what our 3 or 4 year programs are. Vietnam, that was poorer than us, after the war was over. In 1991, the Minister of Industries from Vietnam came and asked me, how do we promote foreign investments? Now I'll have to go to Vietnam to find out from him how to promote foreign investments. So now we have come to a stage, we can't duck it anymore. We can't pass the ball anymore. We have to decide what type of an economy do you want? To me, only one model is possible. A highly competitive, export-oriented economy. I have great faith in the Sri Lankan businesses. We can make it through.
Now bringing to you more news on Sri Lanka's economics. The central bank says the formidable recovery of the Sri Lankan economy hinges on the continuity of reforms implemented thus far. In their report, Annual Economic Review 2023, the central bank says the successful continuation of the IMF-EFF arrangement and completion of the debt restructuring process remain paramount. The CBSL added, since the country has not fully exited the crisis, there is no space available for any slippages from the committed path. Further, the central bank highlights that backtracking from the implemented and planned critical reforms will tip the economy to a state of instability. The monetary regulator noted that continuing with the broader political and social consensus on economic reforms will be critical to avoid recurring policy reversals and resultant economic downturns to ensure uplifting the welfare of the general public through sustained growth. Now, with elections just around the corner, President Ranil Wickremesinghe held a key discussion with members of the governing Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna party today. The meeting was graced by some of the senior-most politicians of the ruling party, including Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
A meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and the parliamentarians of the ruling party was held last night at the Presidential Secretariat. Following the nearly 2-hour-long meeting, a number of parliamentarians spoke to the media and commented on the ruling party's preparations for the upcoming elections.
Inflation in March last year was at 59.8%. Inflation has been brought down to 7% in March this year. Meanwhile, Bloomberg, which disparaged our country in the recent past, claims that the rupee is the best performing currency in Asia. What more evidence do you need? We have decided to resume operations of enterprises which are currently on hold. Subsequently, we will prepare for elections. We may have our party affiliations and political differences, but I want to let the world know that we will take this journey together. We can strengthen the economy and create a suitable nation. As members of parliament, state ministers and ministers, we are ready to take up that challenge.
පොදුජන පෙරමුණෙන් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා ඉදිරිපත් කළ සහාය දෙනවා. අනිවාර්යෙන් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපතිතුමා පොදුජන පෙරමුණේ නායකව තීරණය කරලා ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා කියලා කිව්වොත් අනිවාර්යෙන් 100ට 200ක් සහයෝගය දෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ තරම් කැමැත්තෙන් ඉන්නේ. අනිවාර්යෙන් එතුමා මේ වෙනකොට පැටලලා තිබුණු රට ගොඩ අරගෙන යම් වැඩ පිළිවෙලක් කරගෙන යනවා හැමෝටම තේරෙනවානේ. රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමා නැතුව පොදුජන පෙරමුණෙන් ඉදිරිපත් වුණොත් ඒ කියන්නේ නාම රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්නේ. ඔව් අනිවාර්යෙන් නාම රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා තමයි. ඒ කියන්නේ අනිත් අයගේ නම් කියෙවෙන්නේ නැහැ. ආණ්ඩුවේ ඇමතිවරු ගිහිලා විපක්ෂයේ මේ වැඩ බලන සභාපතිකම් ගන්නවා. ඒ සම්බන්ධව සාකච්ඡා වුණාද? ඒ කියන සාකච්ඡා
We did not discuss that matter. However, it is clear that the SLFP has gone from bad to worse. They claim that they will not accept any government MPs. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa is from the ruling party. The SLFP was so desperate that they had to appoint a member of the ruling party as its acting chairman.
Now, meanwhile, Minister of Justice Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, who was temporarily barred from holding the Sri Lanka Freedom Party's acting chairmanship by way of interim injunction, alleges that his appointment to the position was in line with the party's constitution and claims that he will not be pressured into abandoning either his claim or to the SLFP's leadership or his ministerial portfolio. Meanwhile, the SLFP's former General Secretary, parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara, claims that the former president, Maithripala Sirisena, must be kept away from the SLFP's leadership position in the interest of the party's future.
During yesterday's meeting of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party's Politburo, held under the patronage of acting party chairman Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva, the SLFP's national organiser MP Duminda Disanayake was appointed as the party's new acting general secretary. Following yesterday's shake-up of the SLFP's leadership, Justice Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, who was temporarily barred from holding the acting chairmanship of the SLFP by way of an interim injunction, visited the Sri Dalada Maligava and called on the chief prelate of the Malwatu chapter, the most venerable Tibbatuwave Sri Sumangala Nayaka Thera.
The procedure we took is in line with the constitution of the party. Since the matter is still pending in court, let's let the court deliberate on the matter and come at a decision. There is no reason for something as such to happen. The government and the public know how much of a service was rendered through this particular ministry for Sri Lanka's revival. The present cabinet does not comprise ministers from a single party exclusively. The cabinet is made up of ministers from various parties. They contested under the banner of the SLPP while representing the SLFP and made their way into parliament. I have a cabinet ministry since I contested as a member of the SLPP. The resolution that SLFP MPs can't hold ministerial portfolios even though they contested under the banner of the SLPP was passed by them. I have nothing to do with it.
ඒගොල්ල සම්මත කරගත්ත යෝජනාවක් මිසක් ඒකට මගේ සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ.
ඔබතුමාට ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයෙන් ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයා වෙන්න කිව්වොත් ඔබතුමා සෙනිකෝම වත්මන් දරන ඇමති ධූර අත්හැරලා ඒ කටයුතු බාර ගන්න සූදානම්.
ඒ මොකද්ද හේතුව අත්හරින්න?
ඒතකොට ඒ කට්ටිය ආණ්ඩුවේ කට්ටිය
ඉතින් එක එක්කෙනාගේ විරුද්ධතාවයකට නටන්න මම පඹෙක්ද? මම රූකඩයක් නෙවෙයි. මම විජේදාස රාජපක්ෂ.
In the meantime, the SLFP's former General Secretary, the parliamentarian Daya Sirijasekara, shared his thoughts on the party's current situation.
I feel that Maithripala Sirisena wants to connect with the government but can't connect with Nimal Siripala de Silva. Maybe Sirisena wanted to connect with Vijaydas Rajapaksa and go about his plans. There was never a lack of leadership in the SLFP that warranted the importing of Vijaydas Rajapaksa. If they stand by their stance of wanting to be an opposition party, why did they make a government minister the chairman of the party? I sometimes wonder if Ranil Wickremesinghe sent Vijaydas Rajapaksa on one hand while sending Nimal Siripala de Silva on the other to keep the SLFP permanently stuck in court and ruined. All this time we thought Mahinda Rajapaksa destroyed parties. Now it is apparent that Ranil destroys parties much faster. He destroyed the SLFP and also destroyed the once invincible SLPP.
පොජන පෙරමුණ කඩන්න බැරුව හිටපු දැවැන්තම පක්ෂය එකත් කඩලා ඉවර කරා.
දැන් නිමල් සිල්වා මහතාගේ පාර්ශ්වයෙන් කියන්නේ ආයි කිසිම දවසක මේ මෛත්‍රී ජනතුමාට පක්ෂ නායකත්වය හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා.
මෛත්‍රී ජනපතිතුමා තවදුරටත්
Maithripala Sirisena is no longer the leader of the party. I don't think he will ever get that leadership back. I am of the opinion that he should not get it back because of the harm he inflicted on the party by bringing in outsiders. The people with SLFP were outraged by Sirisena's decision to make such an outsider the party chairman. I would be grateful if the injunction is extended to another 500 years because then we will have time to reform the party. Former presidents must retire to their boards. After reaching the highest political office one can reach, why should they bother themselves with party politics?
Now, the Colombo Magistrates Court ordered the Criminal Investigation Department to expedite the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the cargo vessel Express Pearl catching fire off the coast of Colombo on the 20th of May 2021. The court issued this order yesterday when the matter was taken up for hearing. State Counsel representing the CID, however, has sought a period of 1 month in order to present facts in relation to the investigations. Meanwhile, the attorneys representing the vessel's captain and the directors of the relevant local agent, who have been named as respondents of the case, question the need for conducting further investigations into the incident, while a trial pertaining to the same matter is underway before the Colombo High Court. After consideration of the facts, the additional magistrate dismissed the respondents' claim and ordered the CID to conclude the relevant probes as soon as possible and to report their progress. Welcome back. Now, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to hand over the management of the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport to two firms from Russia and India to operate as a joint venture. According to the Cabinet spokesperson, Dr. Bandula Gunawardena, both companies will jointly operate the airport for a period of 30 years.
In September last year, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva revealed in Parliament that the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport had incurred a loss of 2 billion rupees on average between 2017 and 2023. Taking losses incurred by this institution into account, the Cabinet approved a decision to call for proposals from interested parties to extract the optimum benefit for the airport's facilities. Accordingly, expressions of interest have been called and 5 institutions have submitted their aspirations to manage the loss-making airport. Following considerations, the Cabinet approved a decision by the Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation to hand over the management of the airport to India's MS Shaurya Aeronautics and Russia's Airports of Regions Management Company and operate it as a joint venture for a period of 30 years.
Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva presented a cabinet paper regarding the handing over of the management of the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport. Cabinet approval was granted to invite expressions of interest from interested parties to utilize the facilities of the Mattala International Airport. 5 organizations presented their EOIs. As per the recommendations of the negotiation committee appointed by the Cabinet of Ministers, the management of the Mattala International Airport was handed over to Shaurya Aeronautics Private Limited of India and Airports of Regions Management Company of Russia for a period of 30 years. Now, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitia, during a press briefing at the Presidential Media Centre, revealed that during the first quarter of 2024, state revenue has reached an impressive 834 billion rupees. He also highlighted the fact that the first quarter's revenue had comfortably surpassed the expected figure of 787 billion rupees by 47 billion rupees or 6%. The Inland Revenue Department emerged as the standout performer, surpassing its target by an impressive 13%, contributing significantly to the overall surplus. Now, meanwhile, the Colombo Stock Exchange closed up on Friday with average daily turnover of 2.71 billion rupees. The all-share price index was 1.04% to close at 12,201.01 points. The S&P Sri Lanka 20 index was at 1.14 to close at 3,593.83 points. During the week, the ASPI and the S&P Sri Lanka 20 gained 3.8% and 4.5% respectively, whilst recording an average daily turnover of 2.71 billion rupees. Capital goods sector was the top contributor to the market turnover, whilst the sector gained 0.11%. The share price of Hales decreased by 1.7 rupees or 2% to close at 83 rupees and 30 cents. A share of John Keel's Holdings, meanwhile, lost 1 rupee and 50 cents to close at 208 rupees and 25 cents. The share of Hema's Holdings recorded a gain of 2 rupees and 20 cents to close at 86 rupees and 50 cents. Lanka IOC also included amongst the top turnover contributors. The share price of Lanka IOC appreciated by 3 rupees and 75 cents to close at 130 rupees and 75 cents. Welcome back. Now let's take a look at today's exchange rates. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.